and Brad, the two most famous physical therapists on the internet.
Hi, I'm Bob Schrupp, physical therapist.
Brad Heineck, physical therapist.
Together we are the most famous physical therapists on the internet.
In our opinion, of course, Bob.
Brad, today we're going to talk about one of your favorite books, right?
Right. Yep. This book, I read it a few years ago, and it really helped my understanding of
the medical system, basically.
Right. Exactly. Right. And this primarily is written for people in the United States of America. If you're viewing this from another country, it may be a little different in your country.
All right. It's called Overdiagnosed, and I'll put this down in the comments below, and I'll also put it on the screen here.
Sure.
Overdiagnosed, Making People Sick in the Pursuit of Health. And, you know, I think it kind of opens your eyes a little bit to the health system, and you have to be a little bit skeptical at times.
Right. And not only that, but this book will help you understand medical tests, procedures, and the drugs, and reduce your anxiety overall.
Right.
It's like if you hear that you've got a problem with high blood pressure, for example, which I had went through this, and I read this book and I felt a lot better about I'm not so bad.
Right.
You know,
right.
it's
right, and we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we're going to get into that more detail later. So, can you be misdiagnosed or overdiagnosed? The
Absolutely,
answer, absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
When I first got into PT, one of my mentors as a therapist, he said up to 50%, and I don't know if that was some real study or not, or if that's actually true, but 50% of the diagnoses are misdiagnosis. I don't know if it's that high, but we know it happens.
It happens a lot.
Right, it does. And why? Why does this happen? Is it because the doctors are not good and not good doctors? It's not the case.
The pressure of the system is causing a lot of them to misdiagnose,
right.
for one thing. The other thing is things are very, very complicated.
Right, the human body is complicated. If you look at diagnoses for 3 different diseases and you look at their symptoms, they overlap. Mm-hmm. And you might, so it's really, and you go to the doctor, they have 15 minutes to work with you. It's really tough to come up.
And especially if you have a lot of issues going on, it's hard to sort through all those things, and their mind is in a lot of different places sometimes.
Right, so actually I give them a lot of credit. I think they do an outstanding job for the pressure they're under.
Yeah, this book isn't against physicians. It's more against the system itself or just the complexities that we're up against.
Right, and we got 3 good examples here we're going to talk about. So if we're going to look at this, and this book is filled with scientific studies. It really has some good information to back this up.
3 areas we're talking about: diabetes, hypertension, and osteoporosis.
Sure, right. High blood pressure here.
High blood pressure.
Okay, diabetes, for example, they changed the standards.
Can you read this, by the way? Okay.
You got to go, okay. Diabetes.
They changed the standards.
It was 140. Your
fasting
sugar levels was considered, once you're that, you're diabetic.
You're diabetic.
And they changed it to 120.
Right.
Okay? And that,
just by doing that,
overnight, that added 1.68 million people became diabetic.
Yeah, they weren't diabetic the night before, and now they're diabetic.
Right.
So, and of course that throws them into a panic. I'm diabetic.
Right. And here they're on the borderline, so it's not a real big deal.
Right.
There's ways you can deal with that.
Naturally
or with pharmaceuticals, but it's your choice.
Right.
You just have to ask the doctor. Let's go look at high blood pressure or hypertension. It used to be whoa, that'll get your blood pressure up.
Yep.
160 over 100 was considered the borderline for hypertension.
Hypertension, yes.
And they changed it now to 140 over 90.
Right.
And that day that they changed it, guess how many people became hypertension diagnosed?
I don't need to guess because I can read it.
13.5 million. 35% higher.
People that were not, considered hypertensive, and now they were overnight.
Right. Right. And so when you hear that diagnosis, you get a little nervous.
Yeah, and your blood pressure goes up even more.
Yeah. So it actually compounds the problem. Let's go to one last one: osteoporosis. That goes by T-score. It was 2.5 was your T-score. You're considered osteoporotic, and they dropped to 2.0. Now look at how many this added overnight. 6.8 million. 1985. This book was copyrighted in 2011, so this is pretty new, relatively new information. It's not like from 20 years ago. Now, let's go one step further and let's see who decided to change these numbers.
Who changed these guidelines?
Right. Was it doctors or who was it?
All right, I'm just going to read this real quickly. The head of the diabetes cutoff panel was a paid consultant to, some of these I'm having trouble pronouncing, Aventis Pharmaceuticals, Bristol Myers Squibb, Eli Lilly, GlaxoSmithKline, Novartis, Merck, and Pfizer, all of them which make diabetes drugs. So he was a paid consultant, and he was the head of the panel.
Yeah, so the panel's made up of pharmaceutical representatives, basically.
Right.
And so maybe there's a conflict of information. Do they,
So yeah, let's go down to the hypertension one.
Yeah, this is interesting.
Yeah, 9 of the 11 authors of the recent high blood pressure guidelines had some type of financial ties as paid consultants, paid speakers, or grant recipients to drug companies that make high blood pressure drugs.
9 out of 11.
Yeah. There's a little motivation there, isn't there?
It makes you wonder. Down. Okay.
And similarly, this is on cholesterol. Oh, here, osteoporosis. The first cutoff for osteoporosis was established by the World Health Organization in partnership with the International Osteoporosis Foundation, an organization whose corporate advisory board consists of 31 drug and medical equipment companies. So again, a little bit of
bias,
right?
Yeah, there's. It makes you wonder. So when you are diagnosed with these numbers, especially if it's
you're on the
borderline, take care of it. But talk to your doctor.
Talk to your doctor. Say, is there other alternatives besides taking the drug?
For example, with me, I was like 140/90 all the time. Actually, it was very close to this number. And I got to take care of this. It's in my family history. I started aerobic exercising consistently. Dropped down dramatically.
Sure.
So and no drugs, just simply good benefits all
my
around.
My wife, she was trying to lose some weight, so she was eating this broth soup with high salt in it. Just by stopping that, it dropped. She was high, and now she's low.
Right.
Just by
diet, exercise, all good stuff.
One last point, Brad. Well, not last point, but we were talking about spending time with a patient. You and I have this situation all the time where we'll evaluate someone and we'll actually come up with somewhat the wrong diagnosis.
Sure.
And then as we start working with them,
the second or third visit,
it becomes very clear what's really wrong.
Right.
Because we spent time with them and all of a sudden they'll mention something that they didn't mention before.
Right.
Or we'll find something we didn't see before. So time's a huge issue.
Right. To get to know the patient. So
getting to know your doctor, getting to know you.
Find a doctor you like or a therapist you like, and you'll find your health problems become much more easier to deal with. Except for that broken heart, Bob. We're still working on that one.
That's right. We can fix just about anything, but we can't fix a broken heart.
Right.
But
again, here's the book.
Overdiagnosed, Making People Sick in the Pursuit of Health by Dr. Gilbert Welch, Lisa Schwartz, and Stephen Woloshin.
And they're all doctors.
Yep. So
good book.
Thanks for watching.